Let me tell y'all a bit of a crazy story. Whenever this whole pandemic hit us, I lost my job. Right at the beginning, I lost my job, and that's not even the crazy part. About a week later, my wife lost her job. See, I was working for an NFL team down in Miami, and my wife was working for a laser aesthetics company down in Miami. We both enjoyed our careers. We loved what we were doing, making decent money. And I remember whenever I got off the phone, I received the phone call, I get off the phone, my wife comes out and I tell her, hey, I lost my job. I was smiling the entire time that I was telling her this. In fact, she didn't even believe me. She was like, you didn't lose your job, why are you smiling? I'll tell you though, I didn't panic. The entire time, even while I was on the phone and getting news, I was just thinking to myself, yo, God is about to show off. We knew that there was a bigger purpose. Something grand was about to happen. And I tell you what, even though we both loved our jobs, it did feel like we were getting comfortable. See, the coronavirus had hit and we started a whole new routine, morning routine, figured out what parts of the day we were actually going to do work, figured out an evening routine. Things were going really well, but we were getting too comfortable. And here's one thing about comfort. Comfortable people, they don't chase after God. They don't chase their ambitions. Desperate people do that. And I knew that God was putting us in a place of discomfort. We had to get more of a desperate mindset. Somebody told me a while ago, hey, you have to have a dream that's so big that you haven't even turned into the type of person who can accomplish that dream yet. And if we would have stayed in that place of comfort, I don't know if we'd ever get there. So this whole year, it's been pretty uncomfortable. I've been saying 2020 has been a ridiculous year with Kobe Bryant passing away and coronavirus hitting and George Floyd's death and all the riots and Breonna Taylor over in Louisville still not getting the justice that she deserves. I tell you what, I keep saying to myself, what if this type of discomfort and this type of rawness is intended for us to finally grow? Man, I've been having conversations with people who I never would have thought they would have been asking me about my black experience, right, as a black man in America. And whenever everything started going down with the race riots, I've gotten numerous phone calls. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. I've been having conversations with a whole bunch of people in my network. And honestly, I'm thankful. I'm grateful for these conversations. They're forcing us to finally look at the other person's perspective and grow. But back to the career path. Recently, I just started a new career path that's still in the sports industry. And it actually allows for more growth and more earning potential and even more creative autonomy. And it's been really good. I'll tell you what. Even though my wife and I liked our jobs where we were before, we knew that it didn't align with the vision that we had for ourselves. See, one thing that we used to do whenever we lived in South Florida is we would go driving in some of the richest neighborhoods down in the Fort Lauderdale and Miami area. And as we would drive by, we would say things like, hey, that's mine right there. Oh, that's going to be the house that we're going to live in right there. Oh, you see the way that it's architecture right there? Yeah, maybe we could blow out this part and we'll build something there. Oh, yeah, we definitely got to have a boat in the backyard and all this stuff. We were starting to plan out a vision for what we want our lives to be like, financially, career-wise, family. And honestly, the way that the trajectory of our careers were looking, it wasn't going to align with the vision that we have for our lives. And whenever we both got in a situation where we lost our jobs, packed up all of our belongings, by the end of that week, we had moved. We moved from Florida to Texas. And that's a story for another day. We can talk about that later, but it forced us to get outside of the box, to think outside of the box. And what I mean by that is we had to start thinking about change. How is it that we view money? How is it that we see opportunity? We had to really dig into our internal networks and reach out to individuals who are entrepreneurs and people who are owners and figure out how is it that we can create that for ourselves. Because I've always viewed myself as somebody who would want to dabble into a lot of different industries, have a footprint or a thumbprint in a lot of different industries. And I finally have no excuses to do that. You see, I didn't really have any excuses in the past, but it was easy for me to feel like, hey, here's a crutch. And to feel like, hey, if I start pursuing this too heavily, now all of a sudden it's going to put this other job at risk. But right now, we ain't got no choice. I heard somebody say it like this once. You could be a zoo animal, or you could be a wild animal. See, the zoo animal, he's in his cage and he's waiting for somebody to come around in order to feed him. But the wild animal, whenever he gets up, if he doesn't go hunting and chasing for that food, he just ain't gonna eat that day. So right now, what we're doing is we're kind of in wild animal mode. And the reason why is we ain't got no choice. See, we talked about all this change that we want for our lives, and we cannot only declare change, but we have to work for change, and we actually have to become that change. That person who can accomplish those things that we've been dreaming about. Recently, Congressman John Lewis just passed away. And John Lewis was introduced to Martin Luther King when he was 27 years old. By the time he was 28 years old, he was given a speech at the March on Washington. And, I went and I looked up all the stuff on John Lewis, a lot of stuff that I already knew before, but I skimmed through his Instagram page and he had a post on there. And in his caption, it said, hey, a lot of people are going to say that there hasn't been much change in America, relating all the way back to the 1950s. But if you take a walk in my shoes, I'll show you what change looks like. We were in a place right now where we want to show each other, we want to show ourselves what change looks like. And let me tell you what, 2020 has been crazy. It's a year that nobody's ever going to forget. And as crazy and as uncomfortable and as raw as it has been, 2020 might be the most important year of them all. And with that, I wish you a good evening.